Well, this is an honor because we get to speak to an author of three of my favorite golf courses ever created. Number one would be, and this is no particular order, by the way,
Good, good.
Bandon Dunes, Gamble Sands, and Tetherow. And ladies and gentlemen, the creator, the author of those three fabulous golf courses, David McLay Kidd, is with us here on Puck Sports. Hey, first of all, thank you for creating those three courses. They're wonderful.
My pleasure. Yeah. I'm now a Pacific Northwesterner, so it seems only fair that I ply my trade somewhere close to home occasionally. You could have listed another 30 that are scattered all over the world, many of which you might never have heard of.
Yeah. How long have you been in the Pacific Northwest now?
Gosh, I came to Bend, Oregon in 1991, so 35 years ago. And then a few years later, someone said, hey, come and look at this golf course near North Bend, Oregon. I was like, no, I've already been to Bend, Oregon. There's no ocean there. How did I realize they called two places Bend in the same state? You guys ran out of names way too fast.
We did. God, imagine the change you have seen. I have a longtime friend, childhood friend, that moved to Bend, Oregon, probably when we got done with college. So I want to say 99. And he just recently left because he's like, I can't stay here anymore. It's too much for me. Yeah. I had to move. And you've been there since 91 to see all the change in that one.
I moved here in 06, just when I was building Tetherow. That was my excuse to come and move here. And I've loved it. It is a lot busier, but then where isn't? Everywhere's busy. Yeah. Everywhere. So there's no avoiding it. Even the golf courses are busy.
Yeah.
That I love.
It's great. Well, there's so many fabulous golf courses around that area, including Tetherow, which you designed and built. When was Tetherow built?
It was built in 06, 07. We opened, I think it opened 08. So the timing really sucked for the original developer. And like many golf courses, the third owner is crushing it.
Yeah. Well, we're here. We're going to get into a lot because you have another project that you're working on that when I first heard of this, probably about a year ago, I think when I was back on radio, we had you on to talk about this, maybe even longer. And I couldn't contain my excitement for this, especially because I love that area of Washington State. It's underutilized. It's beautiful. It needs to be revitalized. So we're going to get to in just a quick second a project, Westport Golf Links, taking place down there in Westport, Washington. I want to go back, though. You mentioned North Bend, right? And that's North Bend, Oregon, on the coast. That's where, close to Bandon, Oregon, that's where Bandon Dunes is. When you first set your eyes on that piece of property out there, did you see it initially? Did you see it right away and envision what it has become today?
Gosh, nobody could have envisioned what it became today. I certainly saw it. I was in my mid-20s. I was with my father, who was a longtime Scottish greenkeeper, and he and I both pinched ourselves and thought, yeah, this looks just like the coastline of Scotland. Do you think this rich guy from Chicago will actually hire a couple of nobodies? And, he did. That's a long story. But nobody expected the golfing public of the United States to just fall in love with the place. We hope that maybe a few outliers would be like, yeah, this is different. This is cool. But we did not expect the sort of universal adoration. It was obvious that American golfers are yearning for authenticity, compelling landscapes, the adventure of travel to play golf. All of those things were just there already. The golfers wanting to do it. Just the American golf business kept serving up a platter of garden-esque golf courses with babbling brooks and fountains and fake flamingos. And really what they wanted all along was to be out in the pissing rain and the wind.
It's wonderful.
Wonderful.
It seems like it is when you're there. It just feels like even when you do go in those conditions, you're like, yeah, I'm in. It's because the scenery is so beautiful. So then let's then transition to your new project that is in the works. Hopefully it comes to fruition. Westport Golf Links in Westport, Washington. When you landed and saw that setup at Westport, and Westport Golf Links, and there's an environmental impact study that's coming out. I want to get to that here soon. Did you look at that, and did it remind you at all of just what you saw potentially, way back then with Bandon Dunes?
Yeah, it's very similar. It's very reminiscent of the East Coast Links courses of Scotland, whether it's Muirfield or North Berwick or the Old Course or Carnoustie. It's soft, rumply dunes, hard against the ocean, smelling the ocean air. It's all of the key ingredients that make golf, as Bandon likes to say, as it was meant to be. It's right there in Westport, Washington. And the Pacific Northwest is the only place in the United States that can deliver golf similar to that in the British Isles because of the weather, because of the types of grasses that will grow, because of the 12-month season. All these facets don't exist anywhere else but this little corner of the continent. And in this corner of the continent, there are so few pieces of land where that opportunity could be realized, because most of the land, one way or another, is unavailable to develop as a golf course. So Westport is one of the few spots where that exists. And just like you said, that area, just like Bandon 30 years ago, is yearning for a gemstone to be placed in the jewel to make everybody go there and make everybody spend their money and fall in love with the place, as many of the locals already do.
Why is it a good thing? Why is Westport Golf Links in Westport, Washington, a good thing? I mean, there's many advantages to it, but why?
Jason, I would love to take anybody who's on the fence or anybody who's railing against the idea to Bandon, Oregon, and walk them down Main Street and find me a person in Main Street, Bandon, Oregon, that would rather Bandon Dunes had never happened. Right? There is no downside. I know I'm horribly biased, but where was the downside, right? We took a piece of land that was not being protected, not being managed well, and we gave it love and attention. We took the very best out of it while protecting all the rest. And that's exactly what would happen at Westport. Right now, the Parks Department don't have any money. They can't do anything with that piece of land. It's being overgrown with noxious weeds and all sorts of stuff that's not protecting what is actually environmentally valuable. The golf course can go in there, take up a very small percentage of the land, the stuff that's not environmentally sensitive, and that economic engine will drive so much. It'll protect the piece of land that it sits upon, and it will provide high-paying value jobs for a lot of local people. And it, most importantly, from my perspective, just like Bandon, it will invigorate the entire region. It will bring respect and head held high for a lot of people and allow that economy to start to build itself back up again as it once was. And that's exactly what we saw at Bandon. The highest unemployment in the state of Oregon was the Oregon Southwest coast. Look at it now. And Westport has this tiny, narrow opportunity that doesn't exist along the Pacific Northwest coast hardly at all. And if we could deliver that there, it would do so much to that local economy and wider. Just Chambers Bay, look at that. Look how Chambers Bay has put golf on the map for Seattle. And it's not on the ocean. You know, this is on the ocean. So I can't for the life of me see where the real downside could be.
And I had been to that area of the country before the course was built, and I just remember what it was like. And then in the multiple times that I've gone to Bandon Dunes to play it, and again, I don't know how many people go down there, play it, actually will go into the town. We do it all the time because, one, there's a great breakfast place there. The Crab Shack down by the marina is unbelievable.
No, absolutely.
So good.
Yep.
And you walk around. You're right, though, David. You walk around and you can see it. You can see that a town that was once probably, devastated and down on their luck, absolutely revitalized. And it's a gorgeous little coastal town. And so is Westport. And Westport has so many positive things to it. But if you talk to anyone who lives there, and you talk about the unemployment rate is high in Westport and Grays Harbor County, that this would just be an economic boon to that area just because of the jobs that it would create. I mean, I know there's going to be a financial impact to that area, but what type of impact are we talking about financially, do you think?
I'm not an economist, so I don't know the numbers, but I know that for every dollar spent in the resort, there's multiple more dollars spent outside of the golf facility.
Sure.
If it's something like 3 or 5 to 1. So if Westport Golf Links can generate a few $1,000,000, then tens of millions of dollars get generated outside the gates with everything else that has to be supplied into it, all of the accommodations, everything else. I mean, Jason, just picking up on a fourth golf course that you didn't mention when you listed those three. When I went to Brewster, Washington, and spoke to the people there, I said, if you let me do what I think I can do, instead of saying I'm from a little town in north central Washington called Brewster, and say it humbly and almost apologetically, let me do what I can do. And I promise you, in a few short years, you're going to say, I'm from Brewster, Washington. You ever heard of Gamble Sands? And you'll have pride to say that. So I've done this before. The three you mentioned, I know I can do this at Westport. My financial gain here is the same financial gain I would have working on a dozen other projects anywhere else in the United States. I'm going to earn the same money working in California as I'd get in Westport. So for me, this is about what I know I can deliver, what effect I can have to a community. I've done it. I've walked that walk. So if I can get to do that at Westport, I know I can make a huge positive impact. And the investors that are putting money into this, they're all from Seattle. These guys are not fly-by-night developers coming in from outside. These are all passionate golfers who want to build something cool. There's none of them thinking they're going to get super rich out of this, I promise you.
Yeah. I just want a golf course like that,
So
that I can drive to. I like driving to Bandon. I like driving to Gamble Sands, but it would be to drive to a place that is like that is certainly a few hours shorter would be wonderful. I know the environmental impact study is coming out. What would you like to say for those who would, because there's going to be groups, they're going to say, well, this will negatively impact the environment. What would you say to those, and how do you reassure them that what you're going to design actually won't hurt the environment, and in a way it's actually going to help the surrounding area?
Jason, let me tell you a very quick story. A dozen years ago, I was asked to build a golf course at Machrihanish on the west coast of Scotland on a piece of land that had the highest environmental protection available in Europe. It had orchids growing in it that don't grow anywhere else on earth. It was super protected. We went to Scottish Natural Heritage, who were the quasi-governmental body protecting this land. And they said, never. This can never happen. And I said, hey, I get where you are, but at least hear me out. Right now, this piece of land is used for winter grazing for the farmer. He's dumping sump oil out of his equipment out on it because he can drain it into the sand. You guys have got no money to protect this piece of land. Let me figure out with you how I can build the golf course in a way that does little to no damage to it. And then I promise you, if this works, we will have an ownership and the money behind it to truly protect the rest of the landholding, which is the part you want to protect. After a number of years of going through all the hoops, I have a letter right here on my desk from the head of Scottish Natural Heritage, dated 9th of February 2012. This is the head of SNH in Scotland, saying, as requested, here's my analysis of the development of Machrihanish Dunes. And he basically goes on to say, this is a poster child for developing great golf on a fragile piece of land that will now be protected in perpetuity thanks to golfers and their green fees. I can do this at Westport. Just give me a shot.
Yeah. Do you think that in terms of just what else it would mean to the community? I mean, we've touched on it a little bit before, but, and I've mentioned it, that it is a fabulous community. It's got a long just history of fishing and crabbing, but, times have hit that community hard. I just hope people realize and you can transition to new work. And there's a strong group of people, David, that live down there And there's other businesses because people visit the golf course, visit, the surrounding hotels and resorts, and then they want to go out and spend money in town. And I think a lot of people understand that, but I think for people that are on the fence, I always think that needs to be hammered home, that there's money to be spent everywhere around that area, people coming in and out at all times, right? We've seen the advantages to Bandon Dunes. You've seen the advantages to Gamble Sands there in Brewster, Washington. You can see the same thing happen to Westport, Washington.
You absolutely can. And Westport has a particular challenge. It's a community that, with the greatest of respect, is in decline. The young people have to leave. There's just not that much opportunity. And from a tourism point of view, which is the obvious next industry that Westport needs to embrace, it's difficult to get surfers to spend a whole lot of money.
Right.
And it's at the end of a road. At least Bandon is on the route down 101. I mean, if you're in a $1 million RV, you'd have to drive through Bandon. If you're in a $1 million RV, you probably don't have Westport at the top of your list.
Sure.
It's at the end of a road, just like Machrihanish in Scotland. So we needed to create the draw. We have to create the magnet. Guess who the highest spending tourists are economically? Golfers. Golfers spend more money than any other tourist. They're crazy. They spend money on anything. They want to stay in a great room. They want to eat great food. They want to drink great wine. And, they want to tip the caddies well. They want to pay the highest green fees if the course is worth it. And then they leave. They're not going to put their kids in school. They're not using up the sewer system, the water system, the transport system. They're just going to come and deliver high expectations, a lot of joy, leave their money and go. It's the best kind of tourism.
It signed me up. You convinced me. You've always convinced me. The golf course itself. What is it? What do you envision it looking like? What's the someone's going to go and play there eventually at Westport Golf Links. What are they going to play on? What is it going to look like?
It's an easy sell to you, right? It's just harder to explain to a non-golfer that's worried about the impact. And I wish I could take them to any of those courses you mentioned and show them, hey, what do you think I was trying to do here? Fight with Mother Nature or try and get Mother Nature to give me an embrace, right? I'm trying to get Mother Nature to give me an embrace. I'm trying to get Mother Nature to adopt my golfing baby child, right? When I create it. So in order to do that, I have to tread lightly. I have to be restrained. I have to take the very best of the place and let it shine and remove the things that Mother Nature wants removing, the noxious weeds, anything that shouldn't be there, and then embrace what wants to be there, what wants to thrive and survive, and especially things that are rare. So those are exactly the things that I would want to do. Easy to say. There's a lot of golf course architects will tell you this, and then you go look at everything they've built, and it's bright green, covered in Japanese maple trees and babbling brooks. You look at my portfolio, it doesn't look like that. Mm-hmm. It's wild and woolly and ragged at the edges and very natural. And that's exactly what we would want to do at Westport. We want to celebrate that piece of land as it is. We're not looking to place some contrived golf course on top of it. This is the worst week in which to be saying this, because what I like to, even though I want to watch the Masters, I want to build a golf course that looks like Augusta, right? I want to build something that looks far more like what you'd see in the British Isles, just as I've done at other places in the Pacific Northwest. So that's my goal. I doubt that I'm ever going to change. I know that I can build something that would look like Machrihanish out there. If we get the opportunity to. And I'm positive that in the years that then pass, people would, those that are threatened by it would feel better about it.
I think that's them calling you saying it's a go.
It's good. Let's go. All right. I'll be there tomorrow.
What I would say to those who would be unfamiliar with it, and maybe in the simplest terms, it's all of his courses, all of the courses that you do for those who may be on the fence of what does it do to the environment. It's simplistic in nature, but beautiful is the way that I describe them. is because that you've described it perfectly yourself.
It's
But
beautiful before I get there, right? I
yeah,
don't
because
things of beauty.
you can already see it, and then you work within what the environment and what the topography allows you to work with. That's what I enjoy about all those courses, because I do believe that that's how golf should be played. And it's on top of that, I think it's not like there's golf carts running all around and all of that. It's you're walking the course. The impact on it, the course itself is minimal. We've talked about before. Studies show that this is going to add probably 300 or more jobs to the community. Probably bring in about $30 million or more to the city of Westport, to the economic impact to that area. That again, an area that just absolutely desperately needs to have that.
Well, if we're going down the route of stats, Jason, here's another one for you. That park is over 700 acres.
Yeah.
The golf course is less than 100 acres. And so we're going to use the lowest value 100 acres to protect the other 600. The other 600 will be protected forever. Bandon Dunes covers thousands of acres, and yet the courses cover a tiny fraction of it. Yeah. Do you think all of the land at Bandon is now protected in perpetuity? Of course it is. Yeah. It is far too important for the ownership and the community to see that threatened. So now you've got actual value for these environmental assets, right? Right now, the environmental assets, the very things that we want to protect, have no monetary value. And we live in a world where monetary value is the only thing that gives you true protection. The fact that something has value, real value, unfortunately, is the only reason quite often that it is protected. If we can build this golf course, we give the other 600 acres true economic value, because they'll be part of the overall value of the golf asset. And now the ownership will be doing everything. They'll be jumping through hoops to make sure the rest of it is protected. P.S. The ownership won't actually own it, right? It's a lease. So the state of Washington will own this piece of land in perpetuity. Eventually the lease will end, and the state of Washington will own this as a municipal golf course.
And you in the way that you design it, I understand there'll still be the ability around certain parts of it to be able to walk around, to be able to still use certain aspects of it.
The other 600 acres is going to be maintained for public access, which right now they can't do. Even though Washington State Parks owns the land, they have no money in order to provide access and recreation to their audience. So the people of Washington are paying for that piece of land to just sit there and decline, because there's no management, no access, no recreation. The only thing that's happening is one pathway that goes from north to south, and surfers accessing the beach, none of which we will stop. The pathway will still be there, relocated, and the access to the beach is going to be enhanced. So there's nothing that's going to happen that will be less than what's there right now. In fact, what's going to happen is a vast improvement to what's there right now in all sorts of different ways. There's no negative impact for this golf course that I can see. I never could see, but now millions of dollars and years of time have been taken to prove that to be true.
Yeah. Think about this. You can surf in the morning. For those who don't know, Westport is like a major surfing capital. You can surf in the morning and play 18 in the afternoon.
There you go.
What a wonderful day. What a wonderful day.
It's not for me. I'd just rather play 36. But if you like to surf, you go right ahead. Tell me about it.
Do I look like somebody who likes to surf? No.
No,
I don't think that. But it'd be fun. I mean, it'd be nice to learn, do a little surfing, and then do a little golfing. How can the golf community? Because that's who I'm speaking to, and but they're convinced. But how does the golf community help out? How can they help in this project, David?
Well, in the end, it comes down to politics. I mean, that is the bottom line. I mean, this isn't an argument with the local community. When we did a town hall meeting a few years back, the town hall was full to capacity, standing room only, out the door. People were clapping and whooping and hollering. There was almost nobody, like 3 people in the whole hundreds that showed up that were anti. Everybody else was rah, 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 let's go. So why has this thing not happened already? It's politics. If those that are listening want to help, it's your state representatives, the governor. I mean, those are the people that need to hear your voice to say, hey, I think this is a good idea. I don't want the minority stopping the majority making a good decision. And it's always the very few that shout the loudest and the very many that are indifferent that just sit back. We need the very many that are indifferent or think, actually, you know what, that seems like a good idea. There seems to be a lot of common sense to that, to actually speak up, say, shoot an email to your state representative and say, hey, I heard that radio show. That sounded like a smart thing to do. What is the downside? Why is this taking so long? Why is this group of Washingtonians spent all this time and money and still can't get this thing to the start line? Well, what is impeding this from happening? Politics, bureaucracy, that's what's stopping it, nothing else. If we could get past those things, the box checking, this thing would already be built already, and we'd have a bunch of high schoolers caddying this summer and spending untold hours with mentoring adults, having wonderful conversations and setting up their college internships, which happens all the time. You know, we'd have all sorts of cool things that you and I aren't even talking about yet. You know, into college scholarships being paid. I mean, the biggest college scholarship in golf is the Chip Evans Fund, which fully funds hundreds, if not thousands of kids every year, full ride to go to college. Do you know which golf resort sends the most kids to college full ride? Bandon Dunes, by far. Dozens every year. Do you think Westport could do that? Hell yes.
Yeah.
There's one thing right there. Wouldn't it be cool if a bunch of Westport kids got to go to the college of their choice, all expenses paid, because they caddied for a summer? I mean, that's just one of many, many things that would make this a great idea.
We got to get it done, and we got to get it done. Westport Golf Links. We'll do our best. I hope it works out. I got a good feeling it's going to work out, David, because you're behind it. Thank you for joining us here on Puck Sports. David McLay Kidd, Westport Golf Links. We'll have more information on this throughout our show and promoting this, and hopefully it gets done. Thank you for Bandon Dunes. Thank you for Gamble Sands. Thank you for Tetherall. Thank you for everything you've done for the golf community. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, sir. Thanks for giving me a platform to talk about Westport and the reasons that I think we should get it done.
Great. Thank you, David.
Thanks.